Hey guys, so it's been a pretty crazy past couple weeks. Schools and workplaces getting shut down, movies being delayed, and all stores running low on toilet paper. I don't really want to talk about that stuff on this channel anymore, but I think it's still worth addressing. I hope anybody who is struggling at this time will get better soon. Today I want to talk about all the movies I have seen so far in quarantine, and these are in order of when I saw them. I start off with Memento, directed by Christopher Nolan. Technically I saw this right before quarantine started, but I still wanted to mention it. I love this movie. I thought it was one of the most originally structured movies I have seen. It's extremely intelligent in its storytelling, and Guy Pearce easily gives one of his best performances I have seen from him. It keeps you on the edge of your seat as you slowly learn more information that's being unfolded as Leonard is figuring out the situation right in front of him. I would suggest this to pretty much anyone who loves thrillers. You can find it on Tubi TV for free now. I followed that up with Logan, directed by James Mangold. I think Mangold is one of the best directors working today. I believe he doesn't get enough credit for what he's been doing. I loved Ford v Ferrari's latest film. I also really enjoyed 310 to Yuma, which came out in 2007. Logan was a slow burn with some really exciting action sequences, and I wish it was a little more of a character piece and less plot heavy, and I just wish it really examined Logan as a person. The movie did a good enough job, but it still left me a tiny bit underwhelmed. It's still probably my favorite X-Men movie. It looks amazing, and it really made use of its budget. Anyone who loves the X-Men universe, or any R-rated superhero movies for that matter, will love Logan. Next, I rewatched Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This really improved on another watch. I love this movie every time I see it. The ending makes up for the slower parts, but the slower parts are still immersive and it's really fun. I had a great time with this. The casting was absolutely perfect, and the actors just feel like they're having a blast while they're still giving really good performances. It just feels so personal to me since I love old school Hollywood, and if you love it too, then check this one out. Then I watched Goodfellas, directed by Martin Scorsese. I wasn't a huge fan of this one, while I know it is regarded as one of the greatest films ever made. I liked the style it was going for, and the story was well told, and they really explained things well, and the characters to me though were really hard to relate to. It wasn't bad, and it certainly feels like a classic, but I personally wasn't a huge fan. I still respect it for what it was. If you like gangster films, guarantee you will like this one. You can still watch it on Netflix with a subscription if you hurry before the month ends. Then I watched The Last Samurai, directed by Edward Zwick. No one gives any credit to this movie. While it is a little bit forgettable, I can't help but notice how beautifully helmed this story is. The action sequences are very immersive, and the cinematography is absolutely breathtaking. Easily Tom Cruise's most underrated performance I have seen from him. You can watch this now on Netflix with a subscription. Next, I finally got around to watching Toy Story 4. I was really surprised, but I kind of love this one. It's very consistent in regards to its pacing. It's extremely funny, it was emotional, it was intelligent, and it was a great time. Not the strongest in the franchise and didn't entirely need to be made, but now more than ever is the best time to sit down and watch it. It'll make you feel better for what's going on right now. You can rent it now on Amazon Prime. I followed that up with one of the biggest surprises I've had in a long time, Popstar Never Stop Never Stopping by the Lonely Island guys. I love their 2007 movie Hot Rod. To this day, one of my all-time favorite comedies. Popstar gets very close though, as it's one of the most consistently hilarious comedies I've seen in the past decade. The documentary style completely works in this film, and the celebrity cameos just make you smile. It's been a long time since I've laughed this hard during a movie. I loved it. You can rent it now on Prime. Next, I rewatched Airplane, probably my favorite comedy of all time. Every frame and every line of dialogue in the movie is filled with some kind of joke. It never stops. Even if all the jokes don't land, it can still pick itself up with another better joke. It's a comedic masterpiece. Then I watched Christopher Nolan's most recent film, Dunkirk. I liked it. It was fine, but it was certainly not his best. The visual aspect of it was great. It's a beautiful looking movie, but they didn't really do a good job developing its characters. I don't know if that was the point. I really didn't care about most of the people on screen. I never really felt immersed enough in this world that he was trying to create. It was certainly well made. If you like war films or Nolan films, you will definitely like Dunkirk. I then watched Bullitt, directed by Peter Yates. That car chase sequence was the greatest car chase ever put to screen. It really blew me away. The rest of the movie wasn't just entertaining, but intelligent. The movie ages surprisingly well. It treats its audience with respect and never feels campy or silly. It's a dark, smart, violent, and exciting action movie that keeps you on the edge of your seat from start to finish. My biggest issue though was the plot was kind of forgettable. It was a little hard to follow. It tried a little too hard at times. It's still a good movie though, just not one of my favorites. Then I watched King of Comedy, directed by Martin Scorsese, and I was expecting more from it. I liked it, I guess. It was very enjoyable, really underrated Martin Scorsese film. It just didn't give me a ton of emotion. Some scenes could have easily been cut out and it would have not changed that much, but I enjoyed it for the most part. It was a well-written plot, and De Niro gives some of his best, most underappreciated work I've seen from him. Then I watched Michael Mann's 1995 movie Heat. I had a great time with this one. The plot was fresh, the action was helmed beautifully, and despite it being almost 3 hours long, it never feels like they waste a single minute. The characters are always being developed in each scene, and the acting is absolutely phenomenal. One of my favorite heist films I've seen in a while. Pretty much any guy would like this movie. It's exciting, but it's very intelligent. I followed that up with Michael Mann's other movie, Collateral, starring Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx, and I loved it. The plot was a ton of fun despite being limited to only one night to develop its characters. Wonderfully acted, brilliantly paced, and consistently riveting, Collateral is one of the greatest crime thrillers I have seen. The characters are fleshed out and Tom Cruise is amazing as the villain. I never once felt bored with this film. Go check it out. Then I finally finished watching The Social Network, directed by David Fincher, and liked it. It was fine. I don't know what the big deal is, but I think it's still good. Intelligently written, brilliantly paced, well directed. The Social Network is a well-established film, but lacked a point by the end. The dialogue is really well written, but it never feels necessary to overstuff it as they do in this movie. I suggest this movie to pretty much anybody. I just felt a little bit unsatisfied by the end. I still had a great time. I just don't know why people are calling this the best movie of the decade. You can watch it now on Sony Crackle for free. I then rewatched Harriet, directed by Cassie Lemons. Not as good on a rewatch. I really started to notice how inconsistent it is in its pacing, and it does get a little repetitive at times in how they try to build up its intensity, and I just didn't feel as engaged on the second watch. But I think the movie is still elevated because of the emotional outbreaks of these characters on screen. I think this is a very powerful and emotional film that has a lot of meaning. It does feel a little formulaic at times, but I think everybody should go out and watch it. It's a very important movie to see. I also rewatched Knives Out, directed by Rian Johnson. I think this actually improved on the second watch. I love what Rian Johnson was going for, and he pulled it off miraculously. The camera is always moving, the edits are quick and very smart. This is just a great script altogether. It's entertaining, but it's still well made. Everybody shines in it. Literally, you can show this movie to anybody, and they'll love something about it. It's a ton of fun from start to finish, and Daniel Craig's accent is just something else. Then I rewatched Thor Ragnarok. I didn't think this was as good on another watch, to be honest. It was still fun, but it failed to develop its characters well. The villain was an intriguing and entertaining villain, but they didn't do much with her in the movie to keep her scenes very interesting. The Jeff Goldblum playing on it was definitely a standout in here. I just didn't find myself as interested on a rewatch. The stakes weren't very high, so it just wasn't as engaging. I will say this, when it's funny, it's really funny, even if all the jokes don't land. It's very energetic, it's entertaining, and it's silly. Find it now on Disney+. Next, I watched Freedom Writers, starring Hilary Swank. I think this would have been a better movie if it wasn't stuck in such a classic 2000s biopic formula. It was an engaging story, but I can't see myself rewatching it anytime soon. It was pretty formulaic in regards to its style and structure. While the performances were very powerful, very energetic, especially from all the kids in the movie, you can't help but notice how bland the artistic choices can be. It was a good watch though, and it was pretty engaging. I would suggest this movie to pretty much anyone. It's just such a 2007 movie. Then I watched The Master, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. I am going to say this right now, I really didn't like this movie very much. Like, I get what they're going for, but it just made me feel like crap by the end. Like, I just kind of had a bad day after I saw it. While it's a beautiful looking movie, like, seriously, I think this may be the best looking movie I've ever seen. The story just didn't stick with me, though. The performances were very strong, especially from Philip Seymour Hoffman. May that man rest in peace. He should have gotten an Oscar for this. But the ending felt so weak to me and just really underwhelming for what this movie seemed to be building up to. It just moved so slow to a point where it no longer felt necessary to keep going. I didn't understand what the point of this was at the end. Maybe one day I will, just not now. It wasn't really my thing, sorry. You can watch it now on Netflix with a subscription. I followed that up with Tropic Thunder, directed by Ben Stiller. Maybe I'm a little biased since I kind of felt like crap after I watched The Master, but I had a great time with Tropic Thunder. Consistent, hilarious, exciting, entertaining, and so enormous in regards to its cast. This movie just made me laugh and smile throughout the 2-hour runtime, and besides Jack Black's character, everybody shines in it, and everyone's pretty funny. A great time, a tiny bit underrated, but not really. I then watched Better Off Dead, starring John Cusack, and I kind of love this one. I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd because I really actually had a great time with this. I had a bad day, and this made it better. It's so over the top and exaggerated in every way, from the characters to the situations. It's just a great time. Super underrated. I don't know why anybody ever talks about this movie. I would put it up there with movies like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, The Breakfast Club, and even Airplane. It's got so many visual gags, but they never feel like they're pushing it so far to the point where you can't really suspend your disbelief. I really like John Cusack as an actor. I don't know why he doesn't get get enough credit, but he was really great in here. Then I watched The Nice Guys, directed by Shane Black, starring Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe, and I had a fun time with it. I was expecting a little more out of it, but it was still a fun time. It was super original, super fresh. They really sold the 70s time period very well, and I think Ryan Gosling's performance in it is really the standout in here. He's so funny in it. I just had a great time watching this one. Anyway, that's my list. I'll be watching more over this time, but these are the ones I have seen so far. Maybe I'll make a sequel. I don't know. Anyway, be safe, guys, and be sure to subscribe. This is Ethan Butler, and I am out.